I met an astronaut, Mike Fink. He's a NASA astronaut, and he lived on the space station for over a year. And when I met him, I was so excited meeting my first astronaut. I asked him, what is it that changed when you went to space? And he told me that before he went to space, he was a planetary scientist, and his favorite planets were like Mars and Jupiter and Saturn. But once he went to space and he looked out the window of the space station and saw our Earth, this living blue bubble of life in the blackness of space and with an atmosphere just 20 miles thick, he had this completely transformative experience and completely fell in love with planet Earth. And so Earth became his favorite planet. And this very, very simple story really struck me on a deep level and got me thinking, how could I bring this transformative experience that Mike had to those of us who cannot yet go to space? And this idea kind of gestated in my mind and heart for a couple years until I was able to get a grant. And I also met friends at the Natural History Museum in New York who were developing a piece of software for planetariums that was like a Google Earth but for domes. And I also happened to meet somebody who worked at NASA at an underground party in Washington, D.C., who then opened the door for me at NASA, and one thing led to another. And I presented at NASA in front of these top scientists who were extremely frustrated about how the public is not paying attention to their work. And I simply took some of those data visualizations and performed live music with it, and they were just jaw-dropped, thinking like they could not recognize the same pieces of visualizations that they had made in this new context. It was a completely different experience. And it was like the whole room kind of just had this aha moment. And my pitch was that, look, you have to present scientific information in a more engaging way. You have to engage people's emotions. That's how humans learn. That's how humans ultimately act, is by engaging our emotional intelligence. And that's still, the environmental community, the scientific community is fixated on data, information, abstract concepts that don't relate to us personally. And so this was really the wave that I rode with Bella Gaia that has brought me here, because it really strikes a chord with people who experience this. And this is really particular to a live experience. If you see this just as a video, it doesn't really quite work. There's something about the live presence of performers with these visuals that create a much more immersive and deeper experience. Ronan Hallowell, sitting here, is on our NASA grant that we won a few years ago, and it allowed us to bring this as an educational program for kids, for K-12 kids, and use basically Bella Gaia as the hook to engage them initially, and then you follow it up with NASA scientists who do workshops, hands-on workshops with the kids, go deeper into the science. Also, there's a big Native American component. We have Native elders bringing the indigenous perspective together with NASA scientists. It's really quite something to see. Part of our proposal to get this grant was to do very extensive evaluations. So now we have actual proof with our survey data that almost 90% of audiences have a transformative experience. 90% say they have a greater understanding of our Earth. And perhaps even more importantly, the people who respond saying that they feel like the Earth has a greater role in their personal lives and their family jumps from 31% to 64%. So it's a more than doubling of the people who have this greater personal feeling or relationship with the Earth. And that is essentially kind of mission accomplished for me, because, I mean, yeah, I guess I am showing the interconnectedness of the Earth, the environmental destruction, but also the human beauty. But what I'm really doing is I'm about relationships. I'm wanting to strengthen and remind the relationship between us and the planet that sustains us. And if the relationship is not there, then we will never have a pervasive movement to reach a sustainable culture in the future. If you have a loved one, it's a relationship, and you will naturally protect someone that you love. If there is no relationship or personal relationship with the earth, we will never protect it. So it's really this relationship that I'm trying to strengthen. In a bigger context, Bella Gaia is a new kind of ritual. And the way I met Ronan was an article that he wrote, I don't know how many years ago, 15 years ago or more, called Rave, Ritual and Celebration. This is when we were back in our rave days. And I think this is what's missing. I mean, in all indigenous cultures, the meaning of ritual was to strengthen this relationship between us and the natural world. And humans being forgetful, now I see why indigenous cultures have regular rituals just to remind us all the time, every year, every month, whatever it is, to remind us our place in the earth and the universe. And we don't have this today in the modern world. We need a global ritual that is about the evolution of our species, the sustainability of our planet, the relationship between humans and nature. And, it's non-exclusive, it is non-religious, everybody is welcome, and it's celebrated throughout the whole earth. I really wish for this day to come, and, in my little way, Bella Gaia could be this ritual that I designed it so that it's essentially open source. You can add and replace countries. The content is continually updated as NASA makes more scientific visualizations. It's like a weather report for all human and natural activity on Earth. And it's a living and breathing piece of media that, even in the current state, many different artists, filmmakers, photographers, musicians contribute to it. But what if it could take on a life of its own for 100, 200, 300 years? My dream is really to continue to get this out there to more people and to establish a permanent theater. What if we can have a spectacle experience and walk away with a complete realignment of our moral compass in where we want to go, a sort of real community event as a human species, and an inspiration, not leaving depressed, but leaving inspired.